Okay, so today we're going deep on the Shawn Ryan show.
Oh, yeah, I love this one.
Have you been listening to it for a while?
Yeah, for a few years, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that kind of like uh throws you for a loop every now and then.
Right.
You think you're gonna get like a straight military podcast,
Yeah.
talking about tactics and what it's like to be in the SEALs and stuff,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're listening to like a Harvard astrophysicist talking about alien technology,
Oh, I know, it's so crazy.
or like an exorcism.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It really keeps you on your toes.
It does. It really does. So, okay, so you've been listening for a while. What are some of the things that you found the most interesting about the show?
Well, I mean, obviously, Shawn Ryan himself is, like, incredibly fascinating just to hear his perspective on things, as a former Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
But, I think what's really interesting is the way he weaves in all these different topics, like you were saying.
Right.
Like, one minute you're hearing about, like, a raid on a compound in Iraq, and the next minute you're talking about, like, you know, the possibility of extraterrestrial life. It's just crazy.
It's a wild ride, yeah.
Yeah, and I think what ties it all together is this kind of like this search for truth.
Okay.
Like he's really interested in like uncovering the truth no matter how uncomfortable it is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
no matter how much it might challenge your worldview.
Oh, that episode with Lara Logan
Oh yeah.
was intense.
It was crazy.
Talking about all the corruption that she uncovered in Afghanistan and the risks that she took to expose it.
Mhm.
It's like real life spy stuff,
I know, it's so dangerous what she does.
It is, but I mean, talk about like, the power of journalism,
Yeah,
to really like shine a light on these things that are happening behind the scenes.
Right, and I think that's what the show does so well, is it gives you this glimpse into these worlds that most of us would never have access to otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, how often do you get to hear from a Navy SEAL
Yeah.
about like the mental and emotional toll of combat,
Yeah.
like the invisible scars that they carry with them?
Mm-hmm.
It's really powerful stuff.
It is, and it's not just like, the kind of like the rah-rah, military stuff. It's also like he delves into the really difficult questions like, the ethics of war and the challenges of reintegrating back into civilian life.
Right.
It's really well-rounded.
Yeah. And speaking of like difficult questions,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really goes there with the whole like global politics thing too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the episode on shadow governments and the deep state, that was like straight out of a conspiracy theory.
It was, but like he's talking to people who are like, experts in this field, like
Yeah.
people who have been, studying this for years and years.
Yeah, so it's like you can't just dismiss it,
Right. You have to at least consider the possibility that there's something more going on than what we see on the surface.
Exactly. And that's what I love about the show, is that it really makes you think.
Yes.
It challenges your assumptions, and it pushes you to like question everything,
Absolutely.
even like the very nature of reality.
Right.
We got to talk about the aliens.
We do. I mean, come on.
This is like next level stuff.
I know. And like I said before, it's not just like, some random dude on the internet talking about UFOs.
Yeah.
He's interviewing like legitimate scientists, like Avi Loeb, who's like, one of the top astrophysicists in the world.
Yeah, and Loeb's like, dead serious about this.
Yeah.
Like he's like, no, I think this is real. I think we need to be investigating this.
Right. And he makes some compelling arguments.
He does.
Like, the whole thing about Oumuamua?
Yeah, the interstellar object.
Like, what if that was an alien probe?
I know.
I mean, it's mind-blowing.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
But then, he brings it back down to earth too.
Yeah.
Like with the episodes on disaster recovery and humanitarian aid.
Right.
Like the interview with aerial recovery.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Talking about their work in disaster zones, providing aid in places where governments have failed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, so we've got like, aliens and shadow governments and all this crazy stuff.
Right.
But then there's also this very real human element.
Yeah.
People who are suffering and people who are trying to help.
And it's inspiring to see people like that, who are willing to put themselves in harm's way to help others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shy away from the dark side of humanity either.
No, he doesn't.
Like the episode on P. Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah. That was heavy.
Yeah.
But important.
It was definitely important. I mean, it's not easy to listen to, but it's something that we need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of like The dark underbelly of society.
Right. And how these systems of power can be abused.
Yeah. And then to kind of like round it all out,
Yeah.
he has these amazing conversations about spirituality and personal growth.
Oh, yes. I love those episodes.
Yeah, like the former Navy SEAL who became a monk, talking about finding inner peace amidst chaos.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying, okay, so we've explored all these different facets of the world, the good, the bad, the ugly. But now let's talk about, like, how do we make sense of it all?
Right.
How do we find meaning in our own lives?
Yeah. And how do we cultivate resilience and inner strength?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot to take in, but it's so worth it.
It is.
Because it really does make you think about the world in a different way.
Absolutely.
So what about you? What stuck with you the most from all this?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's the whole idea of like the search for truth.
Okay.
Like that's really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we all need to be doing, Like we need to be constantly questioning our assumptions and looking for the truth, even when it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe especially when it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Because that's usually when we learn the most.
Exactly.
So if you're looking for a show that will challenge you and make you think, and maybe even keep you up at night,
oh, yeah,
the Shawn Ryan Show is definitely worth checking out.
It is.
And then after you've listened to a few episodes, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Me too.
What resonated with you the most?
Yeah.
What questions did it raise for you?
Yeah.
Leave a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going.
Let's do it.
All right, thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to see where this conversation takes us next.
Me too.
Until then, keep searching for the truth.
Always.